We got a special guest joining the program. Those who stuck with us, we appreciate you because our good friend, and this man, I got a lot of respect for because he shows up when his number's called. All right, we asked him. We said, Doc, we need you to speak to the people, speak to us. We're flying all over the place, and the Doc was there. Let's bring on the publisher of Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, Doc, a.k.a. John Maakaron. Doc, how's it going?
What's up, Doc?
Man, fellas, look, I'm a little shell-shocked. I'm surprised the game went this way. Look, there was a chance the Lions were going to lose this game, but the manner in which they lost is heartbreaking. They didn't play their best ball, a lot of turnovers, and the Commanders really performed at a high level. So you sit here and you go, this was worst-case scenario. This was a situation in which this football team was expected to go to the Super Bowl, and I had the flights planned. I was ready to cover a Super Bowl team, but here's the thing. It's not an excuse, but once number 21 went down, Amik Robertson, that just had to be the balloon. That popped the balloon, and that was it. I mean, the Commanders the Lions did make a stop right after it happened, but the Commanders just really, pedal to the metal. They were able to shine and play their game, and Detroit never really got momentum to the point where you felt like it was going to be comfortable. It was a dogfight. And in the end, the Detroit Lions season comes to an end just like that. One and done for the Lions. And it just stinks because there's going to be a lot of question marks regarding how this football team is going to look. There's going to be a lot of changes. And unfortunately, Jared Goff, you got to point the finger at him a little bit as well. He did not play well. It was disappointing.
Doc, let me ask you this because you were in the building, and again, a lot of fans are going to be emotional right now. And I said that I think it's different things, right? It's the defense, it was Goff, and the defense because of injuries. It was Goff. The coaching staff did things that were out of character. I want to ask you about Goff. People are starting. There's a crowd out there that say, this guy's not good enough. He can't win a Super Bowl. Goff stinks. All this and that. I tend to put more pressure. I think it's multiple things. But what do you say about people coming after Goff today, Doc? What's your thoughts on his play?
Yeah, it's fully warranted. I mean, he threw multiple picks. This was indicative of what Sean McVay saw to make the decision for him to trade Jared Goff. This was the reason. This was what bad Jared Goff looks like. Multiple turnovers, not being poised, not playing his best game. And you got to ask yourself, the Commanders built a football team with a rookie that was mobile and was able to win a football game on the road now twice. And you got to have serious conversations. Me, Christian, Vito, we're having those conversations. Look, you can win games with Jared Goff. That has always been the case. He's been in the Super Bowl before. But the conversation seriously now will be had amongst a lot of people. Can you win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff? In a game like this was a Jared Goff game. You needed him to kind of elevate the football team, and unfortunately he was part of the problem and not part of the solution. This was a bad game. This was a very much a game it's an outlier. He's had such a great season. It's the worst time to have this game, but unfortunately you realize that, and credit to Dan Quinn. I think that he was overlooked in his defensive prowess. I think that they heard the press clippings about how bad their defense was, and they came out to prove they rattled Jared Goff. They pressured him. They sent individuals after him, and they made him struggle. And look, in the end, you could say that hit was cheap, but in the end, they went after the Lions quarterback, and it stinks because you don't want that talk to start to stir about Jared Goff, but this is pro football. And today, look, it'll change tomorrow, and we'll have more appreciation for the season Goff had. But right now, if the Lions said, we're looking to draft another young quarterback that's mobile and athletic and can look like Jaden Daniels, maybe it's not in this year's draft class, but the talk has to be had. Jared Goff is a traditional pocket passer. The league is shifting, and I think the conversation needs to be had. How far can you go with Jared Goff? And this game puts a lot of doubt in people's mind regarding his future.
But okay, Doc, I'm just going to kind of ask, why would you go to, they need to draft a mobile quarterback route versus they need to stop drafting the Giovanni Manus, the Hendon Hookers, and get defensive pieces that can play right now? Because look at how many injuries this defense had to take throughout the season and they're drafting guys that will most likely not even see the field for this team, at least for meaningful snaps.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying about the mobile quarterback part, but you still need a defense, and I understand injuries are a huge part of that. But do you honestly think that Jared Goff is not the guy to win a Super Bowl with this team?
Okay. Now, Lucas, here's the thing.
Okay.
There are multiple draft picks, right? So we're talking high-end first, second-round pick. You look at that situation. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. Part of the critique for Brad Holmes will be this year that there were some draft picks the last couple of years that were developmental players. And it's in a situation in which it's a win-now mode for this football team. You could say those picks could end up being costly for the Detroit Lions. But here's the reason why you say drafting a quarterback, all right?
Mm-hmm.
You now have invested heavily. You made the decision on Goff. You realize you're paying him a boatload of money. Now, you still have cap flexibility to put together a good roster. But the reason why you say get an athletic quarterback is look what happens. Jaden Daniels was pressured by the Detroit Lions, but he was able to evade some pressure. He was able to extend the chains, move the football when needed. And you recognize that, in this day and age, defensive linemen are only getting bigger, faster, stronger. And it's a position, the quarterback position is the most important position. So you ask me right now, can you win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff? Yes, I think you could. But at the same token, there may be a lot of bumps in the road along the way. This is what's scary now is in playoff games against good opponents, you now have to worry every appearance. Will bad Jared Goff show up? Yeah. Will the Goff that drops the football on the turf, the Goff that throws interceptions, that's the one you got to worry about showing up at the worst possible time. This was the worst time to have this performance for Jared Goff. The single worst time to play like that was right now.
Yeah, Doc, I got to ask you about Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. Obviously, those are the two hottest names in the head coaching carousel. At least for Aaron Glenn, he didn't look like he had the guys ready today. Obviously, injuries played a factor. Do you think this game affects, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson maybe leaving? Maybe they'll feel like they have unfinished business, or do you think they feel like they've proved enough in the NFL and other teams think they've proved enough in the NFL where they're going to go get a job pretty easily?
Listen, bottom line, money talks. If an NFL team comes with a 6-year, $90 million offer, a lot of money guaranteed, they're both gone. I think Aaron Glenn is a little bit more ready to handle the reins of an NFL team than Ben Johnson at this point, in terms of just totality, from the fact that he was a scout to his ability to relate to players to the total buy-in that he could draw being a former player. I just would give Aaron Glenn a little bit slightly ahead. Ben Johnson had a bad performance, guys, today. I mean, what on earth are you doing calling a trick play with Jameson Williams running the football, tossing the football? You had momentum. You were driving the football. And I just think that he got a little bit too overconfident in a situation which you really didn't need a trick play. It's one of those deals where trick plays can be utilized in the regular season, but you're taking the ultimate gamble in the postseason. You were driving. I mean, listen, guys, football is not rocket science. I mean, I tweeted it at Detroit Podcast. When you were down, you had 3 players you needed to get the ball in their hands. Your skill players, 26, 14, and 9. You don't need 9 throwing the football. You pay 16 to do that. So, in my opinion, yeah, you probably will say he got a look. They ran it in practice. But I just think that in the end, when you throw the dice and you gamble to that degree, there's going to be times you come up snake eyes. And I think that was the time you did not need to do that. Ben Johnson, over-aggressive at the worst possible time, bad play call, and it cost this football team. You could have just continued to pound the rock with 26, find 14, find your tight end, a trick play there that ends up in an interception. Terrible situation all the way around.
Yeah, Doc. Hey, it's Booner here. Good to see you, Doc, and hear from you. I know it's a tough night.
It's like off
Jamie
camera right now. It's like Jamie.
I'm off camera.
Doc, it's Jamie.
I'm TD in the show here. I want to ask you this, Doc, and it's a follow-up off the Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn thing. One thing that, and I kind of had a little bit of a rant tonight after the loss here, Doc, and something that frustrated me is you had the week off, and you have potentially the head coach of the year in the NFL. You have what most consider the best offensive coordinator of the NFL, and you have Aaron Glenn, who's going to be a head coach next year. it felt like, Doc, all three of those situations, Dan Campbell got out-coached, Aaron Glenn got out-coached, and Ben Johnson all got out-coached. What are your thoughts on that? Am I off on that feeling? Because it felt like all three of those guys with a whole week off, maybe it was a distraction with the interviews and that. It felt like every single one of them got out coached. And I think that was the most disappointing part about tonight was you were supposed to have three of the best coaches in the NFL. Every single one of them got out coached by that Commanders staff. Am I in the right spot with that, or am I kind of going crazy? Because that's what it felt like tonight.
Yeah, look, seeing it from my vantage point, remember I'm higher up. So here's how I looked at it. I thought the Commanders basically played cleaner football. Football is a game in which opportunities can strike at the right time. When Jared Goff turned over the football, that's inopportune. When you throw interceptions, you throw a pick six, that's just giving away points. So, I know people will look to coaching, but I look at it like, yes, the Commanders coaches had a game plan in place to allow his team to execute at a level that was mistake-free, that allowed his football team to play at a level that was winning football. And when you look at it deeper, we'll all have time to look at the game from a different vantage point. But again, I think the balloon popped. And look, I do think that the Commanders gained confidence from one of the Lions' best cornerbacks going out, a physical, tough, gritty guy. Jaden Daniels. Here's the part that really stunk. One quarterback hit in the first half. He wasn't pressured. He wasn't brought down. The key goal for the Lions was disrupt Jaden Daniels. He was comfortable. He looked like he had the opportunities to find his receivers, and their plays. In the end, their big time players made plays. Brown and McLaurin made plays. Now you could say, Dan Campbell didn't have his team fully ready. The bye week had an impact, but to the degree that I could say right now that he was out coached, I just think that the Commanders were healthier, hungrier, and they played cleaner football. And when you do that, it allows you to win on the road in a tough situation. And credit to Dan Quinn. I mean, my goodness, you heard, 95% of experts were picking against you. 10-point, disrespectful probably from everybody. But I thought if the Lions played cleaner, you saw they were able to move the football. If they played a cleaner brand of football, they could have won this game.
Doc, can I ask you? I gotta ask because we love you, and I know you. You'll stay as long as we need you to. But you got to get out of here soon. I feel bad. What's your time limit looking like?
What's my time limit?
It's time to head out.
I'm gonna record until someone throws me out. I'm
the hardest fucking worker. This guy's the hardest fucking worker in the city, man.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna.
Hey, Doc. Doc,
I'll
real
say,
quick.
after we talk, I'm gonna record another 2-minute video, and then I'm heading home too. But at the same time, I'll stay as long as you want because you guys are helping me out too. Because I'm bummed out. I wanted to go to the Super Bowl. I wanted to cover a Super Bowl team.
Yeah,
and unfortunately too, just a little self-reflection. Just this year for me was about building trust with an audience, building trust with you guys to be able to come on here. I had the news that about Amik Robertson, cultivated with the relationship that I built, and I felt like I became a good reporter. Someone. I always knew people could trust me. And I knew that if you came to Lions on SI, you would be part of a Lions community and learn information. But I always wondered, would people trust a podcaster? But I knew I set the goal for myself to be as good a reporter as possible, to bring the fans that trust me to come and do the job. And I finished the year, unfortunately, ending the year like this, but got the news that Amik Robertson's going to have surgery. And that's so tough for him. He was ready, I think, to play a big game this year, but broken arm, second or third defensive play of the game. And it just was the dam broke. That's too many injuries. So listen, you guys, like I said, I've always told you guys, they're going to have to throw me out in any situation. I love talking to you guys.
Well, Doc, I'll ask, and you know what, by the way, this is what we love the Doc, and the people don't know, we obviously talk off air as well. Doc's one of the hardest workers, joins us when we ask him. He is the fucking man. But Doc, let me ask you this while you're there, before they kick you out. We talked about the off-season plan for the Lions. They have guys they have to re-sign, and Tom Brady was asked about the window, and he said, well, every team with windows specifically, every year's a new year. But when you look at the off-season for the Lions, guys they have to bring back, what do you make of it, Doc? Like, where do the Lions go from here? You have Kirby Joseph that needs a deal. You're going to have Brian Branch coming up, Sam Laporte eventually, Hutch. Like in your mind, I know it's fresh off a loss, but where do the Lions go from here in terms of contract extensions and trying to bring guys back?
Listen, my confidence is high, this football team. I mean, these are back-to-back stinging end-of-year situations. Look, man, Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Laporta, all going to get better. You're going to have a hungry Aiden Hutchinson. I think Brad Holmes is going to pair Hutchinson with a bulldog on the opposite side. You just got to continue to grow and develop. This window's open. You can win. Now, the question mark is going to be the coaches, the assistants, who's going to end up leaving. I do think you got to start taking hard looks at your offensive line. Taylor Decker, older. Graham Glasgow, older. Made a key mistake in this game. And so I do think that, look, I trust Brad Holmes. 15 wins it doesn't happen by accident. But now the question mark is going to be, and I don't want to bring this up and bring everybody down, but I had this thought, because I think about everything. What if Dan Campbell is Mike Tomlin? What if he just gets to the postseason every year? Could we handle that year after year after year?
Doc.
Because listen, you have to entertain it at this point in time. You just got out-coached by an experienced coach here. And you look at it and you say, for the whole organization, Jared Goff's got to get better. The young players got to develop. But also, too, Dan Campbell has to get better, because it's one thing to win in the regular season. Goff did it. We've seen it before. It's a whole other thing to grind. And remember, the head man himself said it. It may end up being a situation in which it's prophetic. He said, this is, that's why he was so devastated after the 49ers loss. He said, this might be the only time it happens. That's how hard it is to stay healthy and get through the grind of a season. But you ask me, is the window open? The window's open. But, I was thinking at first maybe 2-3 Super Bowls with this group. Listen, we'll be happy with just one before I die. But Dan Campbell's got to get better. Everybody's got to get better to get over the hump, because it's a massive climb to get over the hump to win a Super Bowl. Guys, massive. 15-2, number 1 seed with the Washington team that had a bad defense. It's only going to get harder. It's only going to get harder from here. But the Lions have the tools to meet that challenge. It's just going to be overwhelmingly difficult. But we can't assume. You can't assume anything anymore, and it's a tough situation.
Doc, and because you're in Ford Field, I think this is more valuable of a question to ask you than anybody that was watching the game at home, just because you could really get a feel for the game more so than any of us. What is the play, in your opinion? I know you brought up Amik getting hurt, but the actual play that really broke the camel's back, where you're like, okay, the Lions, they're the number 1 seed. This is their Super Bowl year. It's done. What do you think that play, that moment was, outside of Amik being hurt?
Yeah, well, it's
on the field,
all the Goff turnovers, because right away the thought to me goes to say, oh no, this is a bad Goff game. So when he drops the football, he gets crunched there. You're like, my goodness. Yeah, that injury stunk to Amik Robertson, but when Goff had those 2 turnovers and you realize, man, this is not a good sign. I just thought that Goff not having a good game started to put a lot of doubt in what was going on. And then, guys, too many chunk plays. De'Ami Brown and Terry McLaurin were able to do some things. And, I don't know. I'll make it personal. I'm a State guy. And I'm also a Lions fan. So you guys all know the heartbreak, the frustration that it causes me to be a Spartan fan, and knowing that Mike Sandristrow came in and did it twice. Now, ruining my Spartan season, then being the catalyst for the Michigan Wolverines to win a national title. He was a baller.
Go Blue, Doc.
And then he ends up with the Commanders and makes a ton of plays. You get the F out of here, man. Are you serious? That's just like a kick in the nuts for a guy like me. Kick in the nuts. It's a swift kick in the nuts with no padding.
It's a kick in the nuts with no padding. I mean, what?
Hey, go Blue. Go Blue.
This guy.
Doc, it's Booner again. I have a 2-parter here. First one, I want to ask you, heading in, and obviously I've gotten a lot of flack today because I had the whole Booner path. I'm sure you've known about that for the last
the
year
positivity,
or 2.
Doc.
And the Booner path obviously cut short this year, which, you know what? Brutal, I'll just to say the least. I want to ask you, going into next year, obviously you get everyone healthy back. You're going to make moves free agents wise. You're going to have to go resign guys. You're going to have to bring guys back. You have to make some moves in the draft. I want to ask you your expectations. Obviously, it's probably, I'm guessing, Super Bowl or bust again. Do you think that like next year, like with you saw like the injuries this year, that next year it's even on a higher pedestal? It's like, hey, you have to win a Super Bowl, and it's that big. And number two, can I just ask one more question? Are we able to get a one last view of the field before the end of the season? Thank you, Doc. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'll try real fast. What do you want to do? Like a walk and talk here? Like, here we go, like this?
Yeah. Whoa.
Look at the Doc.
Listen,
Oh.
there's people watching me here. Like, you think I'm going to run down the field? I'm going to stand right here, man.
Let's get like one last run
right
on the
here.
field, run a route out there or something,
Yeah,
Doc.
right. Look, man, every year, the way to put it into words is I'm a starving Lions fan. You know what I mean? From that perspective was like each opportunity opens the door. It's like, giving water to someone in the desert. And this year, 15-2, this was a Super Bowl year. But, I think the sting comes out of it knowing that, I mean, if the Lions won this game, Amik Robertson was going to be gone for 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, how are you going to go? You had one cornerback really logistically on this roster that was starting NFL caliber. So, in the end, weeks I think will help people to kind of calm down after this loss. But yeah, you got to figure out first and foremost what the heck happened with all these injuries. Look at it from the medical training personnel staff to make sure that it works out again. But guys, I don't think that, again, I think the basement's going to be Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. Like, you're going to get to the postseason every year. You're going to win 9-10 games. But here's the caveat this next year. The challenge is greater, man. That road schedule is brutal. Like, the home schedule should give you opportunities to win a lot of games, but you're going to play Joe Burrow. You're going to play Lamar. You're going to go out there and play a bunch of teams on the road next year. So it might not be a 15-win year. It may not be a number one seed. It may not be a division championship, but I would start right now, right away, just knowing this roster 10-7 with an opportunity for a lot of success. So every year with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, I think they're going to put together a winning roster and an opportunity to play well. It's just going to be, can they take the next step to go from just in the postseason, and what's the patience level going to be if they don't deliver soon? But the window's open. I think it's open for the next couple of years. You got a lot of these guys in their prime. They're all going to get better. Panay will get better. Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and you're going to add talent with draft picks. You hopefully can cash in with Martin and Manu and some of these guys contributing. I do think that, it's going to put a premium on bringing back maybe Carlton Davis, who's familiar. But it's all going to be predicated on, first and foremost, the first decision is going to be what happens with Ben and Aaron. That'll dictate a lot of things. But guys, the Super Bowl window's open. There's chances. The question mark's going to be, do we ever get to taste the ultimate prize? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Doc, we appreciate your commitment. You're the hardest working dude I've ever met.
Doc.
And no, honestly, I don't think this man gets enough appreciation, so I'll fucking say it. All right, Doc, you're one of the best in the business. All right, we appreciate you. It's 1:18 a.m. You're still at Ford Field. People don't think about that stuff because
Right.
you're not. You're gonna record and make videos. We appreciate the hell out of you. We'll see you Wednesday. We love you.
Yep.
And we're going to talk. We're going to have a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
Sometimes uncomfortable with the Doc. We're going to have some real conversations this whole entire year up until the Lions play.
Doc, we might need you for a little bit extended segment this Wednesday.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We need you, Doc.
It's both going to be like
Absolutely.
informative. You're going to be down in Allen Park. You're going to be around these guys, but more so like we need to get some things straightened out.
And can people put
Guys.
some respect on this fucking guy's name? I'm
Yes,
sorry, Doc. Go ahead.
Listen. Thank you. I appreciate it. But this isn't work, guys. I love this. I'm a competitive guy. I got to compete
my guy.
with established journalists. I got to break news. I got to do the things that I wanted to do. I'm in a great mix with. It's not just me. This Detroit media is crazy good, and that's what drives me so hard. Is that these guys are young and hungry and have all the training. I was just a fan that wanted to compete and say, yeah, I can break news. I can do everything everybody else does.
Right.
And do it at the level that they do it at. And I did that. And I'm only going to get better. It's going to get better on our end too at Lions on SI. But yeah, this isn't work. And you guys extend me a chance to talk to your audience and engage in the chat. So listen, anytime you want me, just tell me the time for Wednesday. If you want me for the whole 2 hours, I'm there, hour and a half. Listen, it's not work. It's energizing to me. And here's the thing. I'll break news to you guys. Damn it. I was hoping that, there's always going to be locker room clean out. Break news. I was hoping it was going to be Monday. It's effing tomorrow. It's tomorrow. I got to go back
I know.
tomorrow. So that means really, guys, we have articles like basically lined up until noon from 6 a.m. That means there's more. I got to be talking to the Lions guys tomorrow and Dan Campbell tomorrow. Like, I was like,
They're not going to want to talk, I feel like that.
Yeah.
If I'm Dan Campbell, the last thing I want to do is talk.
And the last thing I want to do is drive out there. It's like,
Drive an
I want
hour.
to watch Lamar. I want to watch Lamar and
Right.
and Josh. I was like, do it Monday. My God, Sunday. They want to get out, and it's over. It's over. They want us tomorrow. I was like, but in the end, I'm fueled by this. I'm competitive. And just like Amik Robertson said to me on the podcast, when they said, John Maakaron, you get a website, I knew it was going to blow up. I knew that people would come to me. Why? Because I'm real. I'm honest. I tell it like it is. And
Come on, Doc.
in the end, you guys give me a platform. Your guys' audience is great. Your chat is great. And I can see your guys' hustle as well. You guys are on the air at 118. I'm done. I'm going to push buttons and talk and talk here. You guys are the ones that are setting the tone for the future. And I'm honored that you give me time, that you look to me. So you guys keep crushing it. And like I always told you guys, keep hitting record, keep doing the reaction stuff that you're doing. You're making waves. And I expect 20,000 subscribers by the time the OTAs start next year. Let's go. Let's go, boys.
Let's go, Doc.
Let's go, Doc.
And we wouldn't get there. We wouldn't even be close without you, Doc. We love the hell out of you.
Appreciate you guys.
Keep up the great work. By the way, everyone, Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, everyone that's watching, we got 500 people in here. Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, our good friend Doc. We'll see him this Wednesday. Doc, hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.